This is a story called The Man Who Kidnapped His Own Kids. A young couple who have been married for 12 years and have 8 kids, 11-year-old Josie, 10-year-old Lily, 8-year-old Sophia, 6-year-old Amelia and Phoebe, 4-year-old Joshua, 3-year-old George and 18-month-old Isaac have always worked and have never really struggled financially. However, one day Brian has a car accident causing him to injure his back. This meant that he couldn't work for a while and his wife Lisa was pregnant again and would soon be going on maternity leave. The couple knew that they couldn't live on Lisa's wages alone. They had no idea how they were going to cope. All they did was constantly argue, so they decided that the best thing to do was to separate. Brian managed to find a 3-bedroom house that he could afford. He made the biggest rooms look nice for when the kids came to stay. About 4 months later, Lisa gave birth to another daughter and they called her Rosie. When baby Rosie was almost a year old, Lisa met a man and they fell in love. However, Brian was exceptionally jealous and he didn't want Lisa's new man James around his kids. One Friday, Brian picked the kids up from Lisa and took them back to his house. When they arrived there, the kids noticed that there were suitcases in the hallway. Josie asked him, "Dad, why are all these suitcases here?" "Well, your mum's given me permission to take you all on holiday." Seeing as how it's the school holiday, she thought it was a really good idea. It wasn't true, of course, because Lisa had told him to have the kids back by 4 p.m. on Sunday. When he didn't show up, Lisa rang him, but his phone was disconnected. Lisa was really worried, so she drove to Brian's house only to find it completely empty. There wasn't a stick of furniture in the whole place. Lisa went home and called the police. They immediately set up a search team to find Brian and the kids. Thankfully, baby Rosie stayed at home because she was sick. The police searched everywhere and they put Brian and the kids pictured in the newspapers and on TV, but there was no sign of them. One day, Josie secretly phoned home from a phone box when her dad was shopping with the other kids. She gave her mum their new address, but her dad caught her and snatched the phone off her, and he said to Lisa, "Lisa, the kids won't be coming home, not ever, so don't bother looking for them for us." That day, Brian bundled the kids and all their belongings into his car and drove off. When the police arrived at the address Josie had given Lisa, both Brian and the kids were long gone. Brian drove to an old empty house he'd found just before he took the kids, and they stayed there for quite some time. Brian thought that because the house was in the middle of nowhere, they would be safe. However, one day a couple of police cars pulled up outside the house, and Brian panicked. His car was parked round the back and he managed to get the kids in and drive away before the police found them. This time he knew that they had to get as far away as possible. He managed to get emergency passport through a friend of his for him and the kids, and they all moved to America. He didn't tell his friend that they were going to America. He told him that they were going to Ireland to visit his family there, even though he had no friends or family there. They all settled in America and were happy there. The kids missed their mum, and for a while they kept asking for her, but they stopped after a couple of months. They all started their new school and they made lots of new friends and were very happy. However, during the school holidays, Brian took the kids to Disney World in Florida for a 2-week holiday. Whilst there on the very last day of their holiday, Brian spotted some of Lisa's friends. Thankfully, they didn't see him or the kids. Brian and the kids went back to their hotel, got their belongings and left. What Brian didn't realise was Lisa's friend had seen him and the kids before he saw them, and they called Lisa. Lisa's friend had seen what hotel Brian and the kids went in. By the time the American police got the information about the kidnapping and went to the hotel, Brian and the kids had disappeared again. No one knew where they lived, and Brian had given the school a false address and false names. The police never found them, and they continued to live in the house for a further 6 months. Then Brian saw it on the news that he was wanted in America. He changed both his and the kids' appearance and moved to Paris. They lived there for 2 years, and Brian homeschooled the kids. Then one day Josie sneaked out, found the phone box and phoned her mum. Again Brian caught her when one of the other kids told him. This time they moved to Australia, and the kids decided that they'd had enough of moving from place to place and they hatched a plan to get away. Then one night when Brian was out, the kids seized the opportunity to run off. Unfortunately, Brian returned home just as they were leaving and told them to get back in the house. Brian locked all the doors and windows and he wouldn't let the kids out. Fortunately, that night Brian got incredibly drunk and fell into a deep sleep. The kids got the keys to the front door, unlocked it and ran off. They all ran as fast as they could until they could run no more. Then they hid in some woods for a while. Once they were able to, they started running again. Then an off-duty police officer spotted them and pulled over in his car. He asked them why they were running. When they told him who they were, he took them to the police station. The police went to the address that Josie gave them, and when they got there, Brian was still passed out drunk on the sofa. They woke him up and arrested him. Then they brought him and the kids back to the UK. After 4 years on the run and moving from place to place, Brian was given 8 years in jail and the kids were reunited with their mum. As you can imagine, it was a very emotional reunion. The kids settled back in with their mum, stepdad James, their little sister Rosa, and their new baby brother Kane. Lisa got them enrolled in the local schools, and they were very happy and settled now that they were back with their mum, where they belonged. The end. Thank you.